Good evening, everyone. I have quite a few announcements to make, so let me try to do this as seamlessly as possible. I'm getting a little bit better at speaking on here without saying all right, yeah, I tried to put on a red beret tonight, and then it just wasn't working because, as you can see, I have a lot of hair, and sometimes I don't feel like tying it all back and trying to make the beret fit well on my head. So, okay, what is the most, first of all, let's start with a call to action. Let's start out with what people don't know yet. I only have 50 subscribers or around that, so there's a very good chance that a lot of people don't know this yet. And additionally, my Twitter account seems to be um, completely shadow banned. Like I think very few people see my tweets. So if you are seeing this video, can you do me a favor, please, and like and subscribe, and possibly maybe if you don't want to share the link, just sort of do a tweet somewhere that says Red Berets is on YouTube. Go look them up. I don't know. I don't know. Try to let people know that I'm on here and stuff, okay? Because I really have a lot of important announcements to make, and I usually pop on like if not every day, then sometimes every couple of days. And I know that my videos are kind of long. They are kind of long, but okay, let's get to the point. Um, so, um, Kenny Ballantyne reached out after he heard my interview with Ryan Knight on Amped Up Podcast and asked if anyone had done a documentary yet on the Red Berets movement, and I said no, they have not. So I won't go into all of this in case most of you have seen this video. There's a previous video about it. The updates are that everything is confirmed. Kenny Ballantyne is coming to Tacoma, Washington on March 26th, 27th, and 28th, and I'm going to try to I think that the IBEW 76 Union Hall is perfect. So I think it's perfect. He needs to have a look at it to see, but there's a lot of space in there. I think it would be, I think it'll be a good venue so that he can kind of set up all of his equipment and places to interview people. So what's going to happen is this. He and I have been collaborating on Zoom. We've had a couple of meetings already, and the most recent meeting, I asked, can I bring Georgia Davenport, who is the field director of Whole Washington, into the interview because we want to make this as big of a documentary launch. By the way, just so all of you know, it is not going to be solely focused on Whole Washington. Even here, when he's coming to Tacoma, Washington, we are planning a call to action that is very, very much about putting pressure on Representative Derek Kilmer. Remember in the interview when I called him out and said that he needed to co-sponsor Rep. Jayapal's bill? Well, this event will happen roughly about a week after her new bill drops. Same bill. There might be a few revisions to it, but it won't be 1384 anymore. It'll have a new bill number. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do this event on Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific. We're going to meet up in Wright Park, Tacoma, which is really easy for anybody to find, even people that are traveling from all over the state. Even if people want to come from outside of state, which will bring me to my really big announcement here in just a minute. I will tell you we already have at least 2 people besides Kenny who are traveling from out of state to come join this initial ground laying effort for this documentary, for this healthcare justice documentary, that Red Berets is kind of the creative symbol and connective fabric for. I mean, the hope is that we're going to generate a lot of grassroots enthusiasm and want to get, we hope to get a lot of people that want to share their story and move their stories into direct action. So this is, I mean, my vision of this, and of course, Kenny is the documentary filmmaker, but he'll take some of the interviews that are just that are interviews because he wants to hear people's story, but he's also going to be getting footage of all of us doing direct action, because that's what Red Berets have. That's what we have endeavored to make the Red Berets about since the very beginning. Is like we envisioned them because of thinking of marching in the streets for Medicare for all, thinking about getting out and making a very bold, creative vision for healthcare justice, and sort of being seen as a sea of people demanding Medicare for all. So that was kind of how we thought of Red Berets. And so they've always been about crafting with intention for healthcare justice for both the state level efforts and for the national effort for Medicare for all. Sorry, I digress. So the point is, if you would all, make it a point to kind of share my YouTube channel out, maybe put my Twitter, set things to receive notifications when I tweet. I feel like people do not see my tweets, and it's not about, oh, please come see my tweets. It's like, we're organizing this stuff on here. I'm not just tweeting, we need Medicare for all. We have events that we're planning. We're working with a new organizer named Sharif, who is in New York. And if you are following him, the account that he made for his march that Red Berets are co-sponsors or are endorsing, we're going to be collaborating together, is, I think it's at M4 All, like March for Medicare for All. So M4 All, I think. But I'm retweeting him quite a bit. So the whole idea is this documentary is going to start in Tacoma, Washington, because I live here in Tacoma, Washington, and it happens to be a really it's diverse, and it's working class. So it's a great, and it's centrally located here in Washington State. So it's a good place for people to travel from all over the state, so that you can get a lot of us. We can get as many people wearing Red Berets and whole Washington red T-shirts, and so there's all these kind of fun announcements, and I take a long time to get to my point. So if you are all following Scott Denoyer, he has put up a GoFundMe, and I've retweeted that as well. So if you're following me on Twitter, just go to my feed and you'll see the link to that. The good news is that we've already had thank you to Georgia Davenport, and thank you to a couple of other amazing whole Washington volunteers, including myself. I chipped in a little bit. Georgia made it quite a generous donation. The point is that his plane ticket, at this point, we've probably already, even as I speak, he's probably got the plane ticket covered. But there's other travel expenses he needs to cover, his food and car rental, and we'll probably find him a place to stay, but we want to help him raise more than just covering just the basic plane ticket. And so if you can chip in a little bit, please do that, because there was some talk, like Scott and I got on a Zoom call today, and we talked about, I said, well, I don't want you to feel pressured to do this. Just know that your story and Danny's story, that's what he said today, it's Danny's story. It is important, and don't worry, we're going to get a chance to hear that and to have that be a part of this documentary. But you don't need to worry, because Kenny will travel to, he has trips in the works to New York. So maybe he could even go and get something, help connect up with New York Health Act and get your story there. And he's going to be happy to, still get together and help do some direct actions and make that trip a possibility, and maybe maybe Sharif, who is planning this, who is one of the main organizers for this march for Medicare for All in, I believe it's on the 24th of July, he's in New York. So maybe they'll collaborate and they'll start to put something together for when Kenny makes a trip to New York. So the thing about it is we are planning this documentary of by and for the 99%. Do you see what I'm saying? What we're doing right now in Washington State with organizers for Whole Washington, and not just that, we've reached out to Shama Sawant, and Shama Sawant's team is very excited for her to speak, as Scott Denoyer will also be speaking at the rally. I'm so sorry. I'm so circuitous, and I drop a thread and then I come back, and you just have to get used to that. This is the way that I communicate. So we'll start at 4 p.m. We'll start in Wright Park, Tacoma. That's a whole other interesting and exciting thing, why I'm super excited that it's in Wright Park. The rally is not actually going to be in Wright Park. We're just meeting in Wright Park. So it's actually not really in Wright Park, but that's where we did the People's March for Medicare for All in 2018 for Ballot Initiative 1600 for Whole Washington and for the National Nurses Day, to let nurses have, for Medicare for All, have a platform. And we invited a bunch of musicians and candidates running from all over the state, running on Medicare for All, came. So it was a really awesome event, even if we didn't have kind of the organizing outreach and kind of powerhouse that I think, especially it being like a before COVID time period, if we would have had then what we have now, we would have ended up with a really enormous rally. So anyway, so it starts in Wright Park, Tacoma. That's just where we're going to all meet. And we'll have on our COVID masks, and we'll have on our red and our red berets, and we will do a car caravan. And, creative people will have been creating signs, and we have banners, and some of it's going to be it's going to be a combination, right? We need universal health care. We need at the state level. So we're going to have some whole Washington stuff and banners and stuff that's going to be attached to the cars. But we're also going to have signs that say honk for Medicare for All. Rep Kilmer needs to co-sponsor Rep Jayapal's bill, whatever, we need healthcare. Honk if you're for healthcare. It can just be really, really simple. So, but you can see how we're planning this kind of launch event for the day that Kenny is arriving, or maybe he'll come in on a Thursday. I'm not really sure yet. Scott is probably coming in Thursday night. So we'll be kind of preparing this, and then Friday we start at 4:00. We'll meet at Wright Park. We'll do a little car caravan and make some noise and honk some horns. And I want to bullhorn. Is that what it's called? I want to yell out the window. And yeah, so we'll drive, and we'll probably drive like down Martin Luther King Way, and we can like honk by Marconi Chiropractic, because that's where I work. So we'll drive like down Martin Luther King Way, and then we'll turn and come back down the same direction again, back towards Wright Park, past all of the hospitals in Tacoma. So yeah, that will be really exciting. And then where we're going to go from there is we're going to go stand outside. We're going to have the rally outside of Representative Kilmer's office. And basically we're going to put up like Post-it and all kinds of we're going to print the names of everybody who's died from COVID in Washington State. We have a whole bunch of stuff that we're planning for this. Okay. So the last update that we heard is that Shama Sawant's team is checking to make sure that her schedule is clear. So it's not a definitive absolute yes, but it's yeah, that sounds really good. We're going to check and make sure that's possible, that it's possible. So very, very hopeful. And by the way, yes, I have knit Shama Sawant a beret, and I presented that to her at her her celebration of defeating Amazon trying to take her seat and kick her off the city council. They sunk like millions, or they sunk a lot of money into trying to unseat her. So that night, I was able to present her with a red beret, and Georgia Davenport was able to have a minute or two to speak about whole Washington's efforts. I mean, this is how amazing. We can't really, it's hard to come by that kind of solidarity. She's such a movement leader. So we're going to be very, very excited to welcome her if she is able to join us. And yep, so we'll be pressuring Representative Kilmer. And of course, we're always going to be calling on Patty Murray and Cantwell. So that's what we're going to be doing on Friday night. And Scott will be a part of that, and he will speak. And today on the Zoom call, I said, "And you will speak." And then I realized how bossy. Will you speak, Scott? Will you? And he said, "Well, I'm coming all this way. I think so, or I hope so." So yeah, and I'm sure that we'll have I've already asked Catherine Lewandowski, who is the chair of co-chair of Whole Washington. She's a nurse, and I'm just gonna have to name drop her. No, she probably won't watch this live stream. She gets when I name drop her too much, whatever. She just wants us to be serious, and she wants us to be serious about passing this. I'm a serious crafter. I'm very, and I think she knows that. We are very serious about crafting it. She takes the burden of this heinous system. You can just see it. You can feel it when you're around her. I could actually tear up right now just because she gathered thousands of signatures, and I don't know. I think, she wants to be modest. She said it's like a nurse's thing, but she cares very, very, very deeply about this, about getting this passed, about getting this done. It's why she works so hard for Whole Washington, and thought that this idea for the Red Berets for Medicare for all and knitting for nurses in the 99% was a powerful idea, and that's why she drove all the way from Everett down to talk to me. And yeah, it's hard to see when nurses like her that are just you just can feel it in their hearts are broken and kind of carrying this burden. The ones that actually look and turn and face, because in all honesty, there's a lot of them who probably just have to, if you turn and look at it, how could you even work in that system? It's heartbreaking, and it's horrific, right? So the burden that we're actually asking our nurses to carry, when they went into this just to try to help people, that's an atrocity in and of itself. It's unspeakable. So, all right. So this is a very, very, very exciting. There you are. Speaking of nurses, I don't have my glasses on, so I'm just barely seeing you, Mariana. So joining me right now is Mariana Averson, who is another. You're gonna make me cry. I just barely got done talking about Catherine, and now so Mariana, I met at my first Whole Washington house party that, I had right after I had connected up, and it was on the 23rd of December, 2017. I drove down to Olympia, and I remember just there was food and everything out, and I kind of I didn't really know anybody. I just had been told, yeah, but I got a very warm reception, online. Hey, this is great. Glad you're joining us. Bring those berets. So I brought some berets down to the house party, and I just remember going and kind of sitting down in the corner with Mariana, and just it's going to sound so funny, but we really just kind of looked into each other's eyes and just kind of nodded, and we were yeah, just kind of this kindred spirit. I found my people. I must have said something I can't believe this. This feels like the place I'm supposed. It was probably something around those lines, right? And so Mariana she ran for state representative this last election cycle, and this is hard, while at the same time working full-time as a nurse. And she does a lot of work with the Poor People's Campaign, and she's chair of her local Our Revolution chapter, and she is now on the board of Whole Washington, and also gathered I don't know how many signatures that you gathered, Mariana, but she brought in one of the first crafters of the Red Berets, one of her community dear friends and organizers, Robin, I forget Robin's last name. You just told me the other day, Mariana. Robin crocheted like a good handful, of berets for that first big event that we did where I wanted to get these on everybody's heads. When I actually think about, we probably had a couple of donations for them, but we just gave a lot, excuse me. And of course to nurses like, like Mariana, she's doing so much work all the time. That was the thing for me. I was just like, everybody that I'm meeting through Whole Washington is working their ass off for this cause. So I just want them to have a red beret. I want to knit for, I just want to knit for people that are doing this stuff. That was the whole thing. And then it wasn't until later that, Georgia had this idea of, I think you really want these to, like, we can do this. We can put these on if you don't mind, would you like to put them? Cause there's people asking, how do they buy them? And I'm like, yeah, I'm not very organized and I don't know how to, I don't know. That sounds overwhelming to me. I'd rather just kind of give them to people. And then she's like, well, yeah, but let's put them on the Whole Washington website. And I said, yeah, let's do that. So, so that's now how come that they're all available on the Whole Washington website. And the thing about Kenny doing this documentary, there's a lot of things about Kenny doing this documentary. But one of the biggest things is that for the longest time, I've really wanted to get this idea of knitting and crocheting for nurses and the 99% out there and doing direct actions and the idea of that something that is like whole and good and filled with hope and something that was intentionally handcrafted, that we can raise money for our candidates this way. If they became something, at this point in time in Washington state, we're a little bit saturated. Like, it's kind of a cool thing, but almost everybody has a red beret, at least in terms of like the core volunteer base. We've done a lot of events. Most people manage to have a red beret by now. But certainly we still have a lot of Washingtonians that don't know about Whole Washington yet because we haven't managed. Believe me, we have been pressuring. We've gotten a few good articles, and now just the other day, Georgia Davenport was on and Cindy Jacobs, who is a policy writer and on the board of Whole Washington. She's also a nurse. They were on a radio program. We're starting to break through. This strategy of trying to do local things and get local press, and then also be part of the national conversation, so that people could see this is a synergistic strategy. The more that we build up the energy and the calls to action at a state level, the more that this is just, look what's going to happen. Representative Jayapal is going to drop her bill. And because we have all of these volunteers that we could call to action of Whole Washington, and now we have this exciting opportunity to be the launch pad, the first place for this healthcare justice documentary, we're going to try to get as many people from all over the state. And I know, Mariana, Mariana shows up, like she travels and she shows up. If there's a way to show up, she shows up. She showed up for, and spoke for the People's March for Medicare for All on Nurses Day. And that's what we do in Washington State. We travel when there's an event that we can do that really is going to support Whole Washington. And then this is just going to work out brilliantly because we're going to put a lot of pressure on Representative Kilmer because we're going to make a lot of noise. We're going to have, and this documentary is going to be a way to generate a lot of enthusiasm. And I'm hoping so. I certainly hope that people are not going to waste this opportunity. If Scott Denoyer thinks that it's something he wants to hop on a plane for, then, and Lisa, 50 Lines Only, she's coming out. She's getting her plane tickets and she's coming out and she's going to help us sell some berets. She's going to help us set up outside of the Union Hall. So I need to get on that and try to get that scheduled, or at least link that website to Kenny. So let me think if that was all of the announcements I wanted to make. We are going on the Vanguard again. Thank you to the Vanguard. So if you have not liked and subscribed, please go do that. Scott Denoyer was already scheduled to go on Tuesday night, the 9th, this coming Tuesday, the 9th. So they're probably going to do what they did recently with Jason Call, where he went on for like the first 30 or some odd minutes just to speak about his campaign mostly. And then they invited the rest of us on, and we spoke, or myself and Andre Stackhouse. So then it was the three of us joining them on the panel. And then we talked about whole Washington. And that's how. So I imagine it'll probably be something like that, where Scott goes on to share and Danny's story, and then they invite the rest of us on, and then we start talking about this documentary, about what our plans are. And if you do follow my Twitter feed, you'll see that Scott and I and the people, Fran Bauer and 50 Lines Only, and Kentucky Mountain Woman and Mariana, and people that are following how I've done this on Twitter, we're already tagging and letting Dr. Dooley and Senator Nina Turner, and of course, Justin Jackson called me relentless and said, don't be afraid to be relentless. So I'm not going to be afraid to be relentless. He may, so he's invited. You're invited, Justin. Everybody is invited. We have a whole weekend. It would be amazing to have the problem of how on earth does Kenny manage to interview everybody, right? Everybody who wants to be interviewed and share their story, we're going to try to get you into the room. And we are going to absolutely make sure that some of the absolute core members of Whole Washington, who have done hours and hours and hours and hours and thousands of hours of labor towards healthcare justice, get to share their story. It's high time. And I'm so appreciative of you, Kenny. I'm so appreciative. Thank you, Ryan Knight and Amped Up Podcast, because this is a truly phenomenal idea and a chance. We have connected things. We have, even if it's been like, oh, you guys are just crafting hats and tweeting a lot and this and that. It's like, no, we've built, we've connected with real organizers. There's two real organizers. Force the Vote wanted, the people that were detractors of Force the Vote wanted to say he's not a real organizer, or they're not real organizers. Bullshit. Scott Denoyer was for Force the Vote. I was for Force the Vote. A lot of people were for Force the Vote. And it's not to relitigate that. It's the point that this documentary, as I envision it, is going to be about hearing the voices of the 99%. So if you want to be a part of this documentary, and because it's a moving it's an organizing documentary. It's not hey, let's sit around and do this. It's actually, here's what's happening in Tacoma, Washington. We're going to actually get together and rally. We're going to do a car event, and he can see a lot of people in red berets in action and clips from the rally, and then he'll also get the footage of doing all of these interviews with people who need to come and share their story. And hopefully he'll get a good trailer out of it and hours of material that he can use at some point. And he doesn't know where this is going yet. Nobody knows where it's going yet. We're at least going to get a really amazing short documentary from what's happening in Washington State. If that was all where it was going, if that's all where it goes, that's huge. That's absolutely huge for us. We've spent years trying to get, we've had a complete media blackout, pretty much, just so you know. I've been saying this. You'll see on my on my other YouTube videos that I've been saying I'm going to sit here and talk on this, and if I have to slowly get subscribers, like, and do 50. That's the thing. I am relentless. I will do 50 or 100 videos, just like I've made tens of thousands or 100. I don't even know how many. It's probably like awful to look at. I've made a lot of tweets. So it is not an accident that we are here now. And I have not done it alone. I have had a lot of amplification, including from amazing champions like Scott Denoyer and, of course, Senator Nina Turner and Dr. Dooley. And I could name out other people. I've had some retweets and amplification from Brianna Joy Gray and Ryan Knight. So people have shown a lot of solidarity for it. Ryan Knight wants a red beret. So we're going to get around to this. And there's going to be a lot. I truly, truly hope that there's a lot of people. I hope it's a problem. I hope it's a problem for Kenny that he's like, whoa, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know how I can interview everybody. Wouldn't that be an amazing problem to have, that he literally has people in every state that want him to come there? And obviously he would need, some help. He would need some help and support for his work, because he has to be paid. He has to at least make, his cost and stuff, so we look forward to finding out how, but that's the thing, is we're all funding the political revolution, but we have to begin to generate interest, just like having Dr. Victoria Dooley and Justin Jackson, and they can't fund the whole political revolution too. Look at Susan Sarandon. She donated for a Red Beret. And she is a Vanguardian. She supports the Vanguard. I imagine she probably supports Amped Up. She probably supports quite a few independent medias. So I kind of see her like she's doing her part to kind of look at this. Like, she's a Vanguardian. She donates to the Vanguard. She bought a Red Beret. The Vanguard has me on their podcast. Like, these pieces are all connecting, right? We are doing this. We are the grassroots, and we are growing this. And my point is that we need to bring more people in, because we do need more money. We have to generate the money to support independent media, to buy these berets, to help Whole Washington, to put other crafters to work in other states so that they can raise money for their Whole Washington, right? And if you don't want to do it through handwork, don't do it through handwork. But it is a really amazing tool. I've been trying to tell people. It's hard in the time of COVID because people can't go and try stuff on. And pretty soon we'll be out of the winter time. But I mean, look at these with these hands, right? So if you want to go, and go and retweet and show that enthusiasm, and let's say, I would love to see Nina Turner and Dr. Dooley and Susan Sarandon and that, because we need some movement leaders in this to really, I say that, and it would be amazing. But right now, where we're sitting with this is Georgia Davenport and Mariana and Catherine Lewandowski and Scott Denoyer. We are the movement leaders right now. We are holding this rally. Shama Sawant is a hell of a movement leader, firebrand. So we might have her. We're getting, but we've got already some people that are real powerhouses. And we, like Mariana was saying to me on a Zoom call recently, like, we have to stop looking to people to come, save and rescue us. Like, it would be great. Like, it would be amazing. Mostly it's my dream to see Nina Turner and Dr. Dooley be a part of this at some point, because they are of the grassroots more so than, well, I'm not making comparisons, but I mean, they've shown the solidarity by wearing the Red Berets and retweeting, and they see exactly what we're doing. They see that every time they throw a retweet or put on Red Berets that we're fundraising for Whole Washington. That's called helping the grassroots and watering the grassroots. That's what they've done. So it's not like I'm like, oh, we need this idol for us to look up to and we can't succeed without them. That's not the point. I just I would love, they are a part. They are movement leaders, but we are movement leaders. We are doing the work, and hopefully at some point as things go along, as we do the work, they may decide that they want to play step in front of the camera and share. But this really is going to be powerful because it's all about nurses and people who are fighting, who have fought to be elected to positions where they have a say within the local Democratic Party, and they're tens of thousands of dollars in debt. I could just get so angry at that. But those voices are going to be heard. They are going to be scheduled and they are going to tell their story to Kenny. And that's going to be on. And you're damn right that they are going to call out Senator Annette Cleveland and the rest of them that blocked us from getting a bill. Every single person is going to know exactly who did that. And that is exactly what we have to start doing on the federal level as well. And everybody's going to know that Representative Kilmer is not a co-sponsor. And we are going to name exactly how many Washingtonians have died in the COVID crisis. And we are going to call those numbers out. And it's time to stop playing around here. Like, the Democrats are in charge and they're doing a piss poor job, which is not a shock to any of us. It's not a shock to any of us. But now is the time to say, the blinders, pull the curtain back and say, right now, there's no excuse for us not. We should have, as soon as Representative Jayapal's bill is dropped, we should have hearings. We should have days of public hearings. And it should be, there definitely needs to be a floor vote. So if they had all that planned all the time, and that's why force the vote wasn't pushed, but when she drops her bill, I definitely expect to see a hard push from us. I don't know if we're going to see them play as hard ball as what they need to play, but if they don't, that's what we're here to do. I'm not here to kiss any politician's butt and tell them that they're amazing if they are not fighting hard enough for us. This is why there's whole Washingtons of the world. It's because we support the federal legislation, but we are getting shit done, and we're ready to speak truth to power, get the stories out there, and start calling out these people who are in the tank, a Senate healthcare committee that is in the tank $1 million to the industry. 6 of them are Democrats, 5 of them are Republicans. That's pretty balanced. That's almost exactly even. And Chair Annette Cleveland, out of all of them, has taken the most. That's not any kind of a huge shocker. But when you think about this, this is one Senate healthcare committee out of every single state has a healthcare committee, presumably. And then think of it on the federal level. So just think about the cash that is involved in stopping this fucking shit. I'm not monetized, so I can say that. Think of the cash that is involved in stopping healthcare justice in this country, and it is the Democrats. It is not here in Washington State, it is not a Republican-controlled healthcare committee. On the federal level, in the House that Nancy Pelosi is the Speaker of, she's a Democrat in name. She's a Republican she's a corporatist. I don't even want to call her. They are corporate servants. They are servants of the oligarchy. That is all that they are. And the reason that we can't even get hearings is because they are swimming in corporate cash. And it's disgusting, and it needs to be called out, and people need to stop being afraid to do it because people are dying. It's not time to play like, oh yeah, but they're a Democrat, and well, I know, but she says that healthcare is a human right, and we'll start to move that way. We just need, we want to make sure that this is done right. They have a million talking points. They don't mean a goddamn thing that they say. That is all just stall tactics. They serve their corporate masters. That's what they're there to do, is to block healthcare justice. And believe me, like sitting and in that committee and testifying against the delay and die bill 5399 that was introduced to sideline Whole Washington's bill 5204, they put on nice talks. We were asked to kind of like, and I'm not, all due respect to Senator Marilyn Chase, because she's doing a ton of, by the way, the oligarchy unseated her. She was the most progressive senator in Washington State Senate, and the Democratic establishment smeared her and found somebody to run against her, and they removed her from that seat by smear tactics. So now she's helping now she's on the board of Whole Washington, and she's helping to help us navigate this legislative world. Well, hello, I have a new subscriber. I can't read. I don't even know why I try to lean forward because I'm missing my glasses. Then thank you for subscribing to the channel. You just missed all the F words. Ask Mariana. I was just cursing. No, but it's okay. So we're very excited about this documentary. And this is not just, I just want everybody to know, it is not only the Laura Fielding Red Berets just doing Whole Washington stuff. Like this is the movement documentary. He just heard this idea. I want everybody to know this when they start to watch these things. When he listened to the idea on Amped Up podcast with Ryan Knight, and maybe he'll share this in the documentary, but he shared it with me in our first Zoom interview, Kenny Ballantyne. And so please follow him on Twitter at Kenny Ballantyne. He said that he's from a family of crafters, or his wife crochets. And then he said, my children have gone to, we've done a kind of combination of things over the years, but you probably haven't heard of Waldorf education. And I was like, I probably have. We've done Waldorf, and now of course Graham is sort of in a modified environment, but certainly Waldorf is near and dear to my heart, and it's the goodness of crafting and creating things with your own hands, and art and music. It is all a connected up world, because I've been sort of saying or tweeting, art fuels the movement. These aren't just silly little old hats. They are like, I have been trying to say to people, what demographic did Bernie suffer with the most? That's like a little quiz that everyone watching this probably knows, right? Sorry, I can't see. Why do I try to read if I can't see? It's just so silly. Well, okay, so everybody knows that, he needed to pull in more boomers. And I always want to preface it by saying, I know a ton of boomers who are amazing Bernie-crats. So it's always kind of hard for me to face that factor, hear that, because when I'm out in my organizing circles, I know a ton of people who are in that demographic, who are very progressive and who donated to Bernie and helped organize and all of this. Okay, so he had support from all different age groups, but they did, the numbers, and typically he did do better with younger people than he did with the retired and older generation. So, what am I trying to say about this? So there's a lot of crafters that if they would just hear about this idea, they might be kind of more of your dyed in the wool, vote blue no matter who Democrats, right? Or even, let's not get rid of the idea of, there's a lot of Republican women who craft And I have been followed on Red Beret's Medicare for All. Sometimes I would get skeptical if I was followed by like hashtag MAGA, but then I would go and look at because if I have time, I do. And every time I would go look at the feed, I would see them retweeting Bernie with something to do with healthcare, Medicare for All. So I have had some Trump supporters follow me because they're for healthcare. They're for Medicare for All. It's not every Republican. Just like if I went to, like I've bagged on the Proctor district in Tacoma or, wealthier areas, there's going to be people who aren't going to support whole Washington. Like, let's just get rid of this notion that all Democrats are like amazing and they're going to, let's get rid of the notion that we're going to have every single Democrat out there voting for the whole Washington Health Trust, or they didn't support Bernie. And some of it was because the media lied to them and said that Biden was the electable one. That was a lot of the narrative that was run. But there's also people who they're just really Republicans and they need to face it. Or, they're caring more about their bottom line. They're carrying the tax bracket that they're in, right? And they don't want to have to pay anymore. They don't want it to be, I'm sorry. I'm not really willing to cut people as much slack anymore because I've stood in those wealthier areas and I've asked them to sign the petition to put universal health care on the ballot. And I got a lot of no's. I got a lot of yeses too. But I saw people in their Louis Vuitton purses and the things that they had and no thanks. And then I went down to Walmart to gather signatures and almost everybody signed the fucking petition. So let's get rid of this idea that, it's only Republicans who are stopping healthcare justice. There's a lot of Biden-Harris Democrats who have their Black Lives Matter symbols in their yards, their signs, and yet they are not tweeting or calling or asking for healthcare justice right now. So we need to start calling some of these people out and saying, you don't get to sit and act like you care about Black lives when you're actually not fighting for Black lives, when you're not actually giving a shit about helping to push for policy that's going to save people, that's going to change their lives, it's going to prevent, one of, if not the leading, probably the leading or one of the top causes of homelessness is medical bankruptcy. So all the homeless, that's an interconnected issue. Okay, now I'm just ranting. So I did that, didn't I? I did that. But I made my announcements. So the announcements were, if you can go and help, if you can go, if you're following Scott Denoyer, or go and see my Twitter feed. I donated. I've spread around a little bit of donations lately, and that with the yarn and everything else, it gets to be like, I'm doing what I can, and I'm doing a lot of organizing. I do try to chip in where I can, and that's what we're all doing. We're all trying to just do, So if you are someone who watches this and you're like, I want to help, I have some money, then go and donate to Scott Denoyer. He's got the money for his plane ticket now, but he's got some other costs to cover. He's coming out to help really boost this documentary, to share Danny's story, and just to help everybody realize this is not just only about whole Washington, but whole Washington does the work. So it's like, on one hand, I want to tell everybody this is not just going to be the documentary of whole Washington, because we want everybody to want to take part in this documentary and get interested in this idea of crafting for healthcare justice and supporting crafters. And because what I was saying about the older generation is they might not necessarily know if they support Medicare for all. They might be more the type that's like, well, something needs to change, but maybe it's okay maybe we need a public option first. I think that would be, I'm giving you just for an example, right? Or, oh yeah, but it's really complicated to do it. Whatever media talking points that they've, or if they hear, their elected Democrats saying healthcare is a human right. And so healthcare as a human right is something that is that's what's absolutely like. So if you tell people we are crafting Red Berets because healthcare is a human right and we need healthcare justice. That is a lot of people, a lot of crafters just want to craft for a good cause. So, and I'm not calling them dumb, like, oh, just get the dumb crafters going, you know? No, they don't want to be like all into the politics, and that they enjoy to relax, and like it's calming. It's the opposite of what I am right now. Knitting calms me down and it grounds me, and I like creating beautiful things, and I love looking at beautiful things that my fellow crafters have made. This is like a lost art in this time. We are ordering a lot of things from who knows how it's sourced, and from Amazon. Like, look, let's build this movement so that when it comes time, because I would love to say we're going to pass Medicare for all, like, right now, and when Rep. Jayapal introduces her bill, and we're going to do our damnedest. We're going to do our damnedest every single day. And I'm not going to put any limitations on it. You never know what's going to happen. If people rise up and demand, and we get enough people and we reach critical mass, we could pass it. We could have overwhelming pressure. And that is the point of this documentary, is to bring people together to help to generate a lot of solidarity, because he's chosen a grassroots. He could go to all of the orgs, no disparagement against our good organizations who have worked for decades and who are championing this cause, right? But he's choosing a pathway in this documentary, and he may very well go and get some footage with the national nurses or Cal nurses if he finds some people. And I hope he goes to Colorado, where we had a bunch of nurses on their single payer thing who contacted me quite some time ago and asked for me to write the story of the Red Berets so they could put it on their website. There's all these actions that have that we've done over time, that we've done quite connected but separate from Whole Washington. So it's been a concurrent effort. I dearly love Whole Washington. I'm going to fight with them every single day, because I truly, barring some kind of massive uprising, and we would have to have a very massive uprising, because I'm somebody who doesn't really think that almost any amount of pressure will be enough to move Joe Biden. But that doesn't mean we don't fight for it, because what we need to do is raise enough hell that everybody realizes before his first term is even up that we can't have this shit, right? We need a primary challenger. But that's why I'm kind of thinking of Nina Turner and being like, come on, Nina. We need you in this documentary. But she's running for Ohio. She's running very clearly. She's running her path, getting into that seat in Ohio 11, and not relying too much on outside movement support. Because the establishment, they would take any opportunity to try to smear and derail her if she was relying too much on her movement stardom or support, basically. So she's running really specific. That's how you run anyway. You're supposed to run to represent your constituency, so that's all good. But I kind of have some kind of long-term strategies and hopes in my mind, but what we have to bring ourselves back to right now is, if we're in the moment right now with planning these events and getting people to show up and honk their horns and come to the rally and put pressure on one person. And Rep. Kilmer is a very good person to put a lot of pressure on, because he's chair of the New Democrats. So what that means is he is in charge of allocating the money for people's reelection campaigns. So he gets to go and spread that money around and decide how to best protect the oligarchy. That's one of his main jobs. Hi, Rep. Kilmer. Yeah, I mean, so I don't mind, and his office has ignored us over and over and over again. But I do look forward to having this big event to where we can make this very, very uncomfortable. And you never know, we might get some press attention for this, and then we'll see. If you get enough, we could have a new co-sponsor. Wouldn't that be amazing? And then still there's this, well, I don't trust a co-sponsor. Nevertheless, anytime that they have to give an inch, if he had to sign to, that's why that they won't put it on their platform. That's why the Democrats won't put Medicare for All on their national platform, is because they give us they give us something that we can fight with a little bit. That's why they wouldn't put it there. It's not because a platform means too much, because, for example, we have universal health care on the Washington State Democratic Party platform. It really doesn't mean shit. And yet, I can still go tweet at Tina Podlowski, who is the chair of the Washington State Democrats, and I can say, where are your tweets for Holt? Thanks for the reminder. That's what I'm going to go do, is go tweet at her and say, isn't universal healthcare on the Washington State platform? Can you please endorse Whole Washington and help rally? So I've already did that. I already tagged her in a big old stream of stuff. It's probably why my Twitter account is it's because I've done that to enough people, and I've probably been reported. They're trying to silence us. And I am not afraid of them, and I am not afraid of calling them out, because I am not planning to run for office, and I cannot stand the Democratic Party. I cannot stand what they're doing. They are liars and hypocrites and corrupt, and they are pretending to be our friends. And the majority of people that are even active within the local Democratic Party hear our elected representatives and senators say healthcare is a human right, and then so they think that they're for Medicare for all. That was my experience. I met people there at the local thing, and they were just well, they're very supportive of, they're for universal healthcare. I was nope, they're not. So, but let's get people crafting these. Let's get people interested in sharing about this documentary. I've certainly gone on long enough on here. It's almost an hour. I wonder if I will go off of here and go look and see that Scott has raised all of the money that he needs. And so thank you, Scott. Thank you again. I'm pretty sure that I thanked you already in this live feed. No, if he can help, he wouldn't have it any other way. That's the thing. And, as much as I said, well, don't worry, Kenny has some interviews that he wants to do. He's going to making a trip to New York. The time is now. So I think that's why Scott was so strongly for force the vote. So he could, and hopefully a trip will be made to New York, and there's maybe more that he can do there. But he wants to come out to Tacoma, Washington, to Washington State, because he knows that he has some movement support. And so that's called solidarity, because he wants to come out and make sure that this documentary gets off to the running start that it deserves to have, because this can be for everybody. Everybody can participate in this. This is not my documentary. I never came up with this idea to be this is my thing. I've given so many of these berets away to healthcare justice organizers, to friends, to strangers, to neighbors, to I can't even lost track of how many people that and it's not I've given it. It's what I said I wanted to do. I like to knit. I thought I'm going to knit for this cause. And there's a lot of crafters out there who would love to do this. Just please trust me on that much. Let's get some, you got your Red Beret? Yay. Awesome. I'm really happy to hear that. Did you tweet a picture out? Or you don't have to, if you don't want to tweet it, you can tweet it on yourself, or you can just kind of take a picture of it. And, but the imagery helps us if you want to do it in a tweet. If you did that, that's great. And then just at me, and that helps us, right? That's what we're trying to do, is grow the movement by getting these people, and then this is a solidarity approach. It's people all over the country. It's just not Washington State. These are symbols for Medicare for all. And I will be totally happy to help share this idea for how people can, if they're in a one payer state and some crafters want to get it, just do a crafting circle and have like an Etsy account, and then you could donate some of your proceeds to Medicare for all candidates, or to people are supporting Nina Turner. You could, but there's other candidates who are running who could use more help. There's state level candidates, and if you're in a one payer state, if they're doing anything like what Whole Washington is doing, they have. Especially if they're going to run a ballot initiative, then they will have the cost of printing petitions, which is really expensive. So, yeah. Anyway, well, I'm going to get going. Thanks for joining. Thanks for subscribing. You will see that I've just kind of done a lot of videos on here. Probably repeated some material, but hey, I kind of finally got tired of Twitter sort of hampering down my feed, and also I just have a lot to say, and I'm really excited about this. So I thought, hey, I'll spend an hour with you guys and talk about stuff and just tell you that the final weekend in March is going to be a really big thing. And I'm pretty sure that we're going to come up with actions like social media solidarity that people can do to help boost this up. We can help each other in big ways and small. Thank you for ordering the Red Beret. Really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Have a good night.